I just hit my 2-year mark on the carnivore diet on December 27th, 2024, and in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've learned over the past couple of years, along with some thoughts about being a long-term carnivore and what the future holds. I also wanted to share some updated blood work, a DEXA scan, and weight that I lost over the past year. I came into 2024 feeling pretty good. I had lost 35-ish pounds my first year on carnivore, and I was solidly in the mid to high 150s. I discovered in midsummer that I had Hashimoto's hypothyroid. Ever since the boys were born, I had been dealing with bouts of fatigue, and then around the 4 to 6 month mark on carnivore, I experienced some pretty severe hair loss. And I now know that those were actually thyroid related. Fatigue and hair loss are like the cardinal symptoms of low thyroid. 2024 was a big year in many ways. I got a book deal. I signed it on July 3rd, and that book is actually now available for pre-sale. So I learned a lot about the process of writing a book, and what a surprise, it's really hard. Complete Carnivore is a complete in-depth guide to the carnivore diet, plus it has 80+ carnivore recipes. It's basically 2 books in one. And they're not just like, cooking meat recipes. There's recipes in there for carnivores at any stage of their journey. And I like this because most of the time I'm eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That's like 95% of the time. But there are times when I want to mix it up a little bit. So I endeavored to get some recipes in this book that could help you get a little bit of variety in your carnivore diet. Pre-orders are a huge deal for any first-time author. I put some links in the description to where you can pre-order this book. It is now available for pre-order. Barnes & Noble and Amazon have pretty amazing pre-order deals, I guess you could say. Basically, whenever you pre-order it up until the time that the book is released, which is September 16th of this year, you will end up paying the cheapest price that the book was ever on sale from the time you ordered it until release day. So let's just say you order it on Amazon today, and then on release day, you end up getting it for, let's just say it went on sale for like $25, and that was the lowest price. You get it for that price. Pretty amazing. Barnes & Noble has a similar thing on their site. So if you've ever wanted to support me in any way, pre-ordering this book is the best way you can do it. I'll put links in the description below. So that was a really good thing in 2024. A lot of work, but good. Also in 2024, though, I had a family member that was in the hospital for a month, and that was very taxing for my family. Very, very stressful. I'm happy to report that my family member is doing really well, has recovered very well, but it was a difficult time, and that was in the summertime, so the whole rest of the year was rough. I really didn't lose too much weight in my second year on carnivore. I lost the bulk of it in the first year. And there's going to be some naysayers out there that are like, oh, carnivore doesn't work then, blah, 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 blah. And I obviously disagree with that. I also didn't gain weight. I pretty much stayed in the low 150s. Now with some sardine fasting that I started in September, I was able to get down into the 140s. So I've definitely been able to make some progress losing some weight. But I think with the stress, the double workload of doing the YouTube channel, plus writing the book, the family member in the hospital, and my Hashimoto's hypothyroid, I'm just really happy that I was able to maintain the weight loss that I experienced in year 1. Now, we want to look at some data, but before we do, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, LMNT Electrolytes. LMNT is an electrolyte brand that has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. I've been using their raw, unflavored packets since basically the beginning of carnivore, and I love them because there's no flavoring, there's no maltodextrin. They're really, really easy to pack along with you when you travel. They're just in these little packets, and they keep me really hydrated. So I like to do 1 packet in the morning with 16 to 24 ounces of water. And I've actually been doing one in the evenings too with my dinner, and I've been waking up feeling really, really good. So I think I have that dialed in. But I also really, really like their sparkling waters. Their sparkling waters come in 4 different flavors, and they are also free of maltodextrin, so they're an excellent choice for the carnivore diet. If you'd like to give LMNT a try for yourself, they are offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. So you can head to the link in the description. It's drinklmnt.com/Jenny Middich. That's DRINKLMNT.com/Jenny Middich and get your free sample pack with any order today. So let's dive into some data for the year, and then we'll finish up with some key takeaways this second year of carnivore. All right, so as far as weight loss, I ended the year in 2023 between 158 and 162. And this year my weight was between 151 and 153 pounds. So I lost anywhere between, 5 to 8 pounds throughout the year. My lowest weight in 2024 was 146.4, and that was after, I believe, my 10-day sardine fast. So that was the lowest weight, but I was sticking around that low 150s. As far as my DEXA scan, I got a DEXA scan on December 27th, 2023, and I got another DEXA scan, I think in the beginning of January. So let's compare the two of those. My weight at the DEXA scan on December 27th, 2023 was 162.7 pounds. And then 1 year later, when I took the scan, my weight at the DEXA was 151.5. My body fat percentage went down from 35% to 33.4. My fat mass was down by 6.3 pounds. My lean mass was also down by 3 to 5 pounds. And then my visceral fat a year ago, 1.11 pounds. And at my most recent DEXA scan, it was 1 pound. The lowest I have seen my visceral fat in 2024 was 0.5 pound. And again, that was after that 10-day sardine fast. That was highly effective for losing visceral fat. So in general, I've had some body composition changes, pretty minor. Anytime you're losing weight, you will have a little bit of lean mass if you're losing a significant amount of weight. But also keep in mind that on a DEXA scan, the lean mass figure is not just muscle. It's your muscle, your organs, your blood, and any contents in your stomach. So if I see movement of up to 2 pounds, I'm just taking that as like fluids, dehydration, things like that. It's when it starts to be a little bit higher than that I'm like, okay, some muscle is in there. So I did lose a little bit of lean mass, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that my total body fat percentage is going down. I'd really like to get that to like 25%. I don't know what weight-wise that's going to be. I don't know what the weight is going to be on the scale, but I think between 25 and 27% fat is a really good goal for me to start with. So that's kind of what I'm trying to whittle away at for 2025. As far as my continuous glucose monitor data, I use the NutriSense app paired with a Dexcom 7 CGM. And unfortunately, I can only go back 120 days of data, but in general, looking at all of the data that I have accumulated over the past year, my average glucose was anywhere between 83 to 85. Same with my sleep average and my morning average. I'm typically in the mid 80s. And then my variability, which is just the peaks and valleys that you see in your glucose numbers, you want to keep that pretty tight. That's supposed to be 15 or under. I've been between 10 to 15. So everything is looking really good on the glucose end. Then I wanted to take a look at my most recent blood work. I got this done in the beginning of January. So my fasting glucose, 89. My eGFR was a 120. That is a kidney filtration number, and you want that to be above a 59. 120 is actually the highest it's ever been. So any naysayers out there that say, oh, protein is bad for your kidneys. No, that's a common misconception. Your body can handle a lot of protein. And another common misconception is that carnivore is a high protein diet. It's not. It's a high fat, moderate protein diet. But you can definitely handle a lot of protein. I'm eating anywhere between 130 to 200 grams per day. And my kidneys are working great. AST and ALT are both great, 20 and 15, and all of my electrolytes are looking good too. In this blood work, I also did an omega check. I just talked about these numbers in my 14-day sardine fast update, so be sure to check out that video if you'd like to learn a little bit more about omega-3s and omega-6s and all that kind of stuff. But after a 14-day sardine fast, my omega-3s were popping, 8.3, my, let's see, EPA 2.9, DPA 1.3, and my DHA 4.1. So everything's looking really good there. And my omega-6 to omega-3 ratio was a 4.8. And all you really need to know about that is you want it to be nice and low, so that's good. Moving into my lipid panel. This panel was actually like the lowest I've ever seen my LDL and total cholesterol on a carnivore diet. My total cholesterol 203, triglycerides 37, HDL cholesterol 77, and LDL cholesterol 119, which of course this test still says is pretty high, but that is low for me. I'm typically seeing mine anywhere between 175 to 275, so that's looking really good. I'm not scared of high LDL. I'm more concerned about triglycerides and HDL cholesterol. And if we take a look at my triglyceride to HDL ratio, I'm at a 0.48. That's amazing. You want it to be under a 2, so I am not worried about my lipids whatsoever. Next up, we're moving into A1C, and that is at a 5.0. I've had some interesting things happen with my A1C over the past couple of years that I've been on carnivore. I had seen it inching up a bit. I got as high as 5.7, and it was actually my thyroid practitioner who let me know, hey, why don't you just throw in a berberine? That could help to adjust the A1C. So I did, and it's been going down. Amazing. I'll link the berberine that I use in the description, but yeah, I've gone from I think it was 5.7 at its highest, now I'm a 5.0. That actually matches what my average glucose is, because my average glucose never went up. That was the thing that was so weird about it. My A1C was higher, but my glucose didn't match. I don't know. There's theories that say, oh, maybe your red blood cells are living longer or something like that, but that's never been proven. And I don't know that I believe that or not. I need to really learn more about that, but A1C is looking good. Next up is uric acid, a 3.0. I test this periodically, especially if I'm doing a sardine fast, so that I can illustrate that your uric acid doesn't just automatically go up if you're eating a bunch of seafood or sardines specifically. You want this to be between like the 3, 4, 5 range, so 3.0 is great. Finally, my fasting insulin is a 4.0. You want your fasting insulin to be between a 2 and a 6, so that is smack dab in the middle, looking really good after 2 years on the carnivore diet. Let's finish up with some key takeaways from this second year on carnivore. First up, I feel my best when I am very strict. So for me, being really strict on carnivore, BBB&E most of the time, that is how I feel my best. Kind of piggybacking off of that is talking a little bit about the dairy. So for me, dairy is highly inflammatory. I have Hashimoto's, like I said, and when you have an autoimmune issue, you can have some negative reactions to dairy, and I do. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't eat dairy ever, because I really love it. I love cheese. I love liquid dairy, but I probably only do it once or twice a month, and I want to show you why. So in November, I was cooking a ton of the recipes for the cookbook, and some of them have dairy in them. So I was consuming dairy every single day. And I gained like 8.5 pounds, and I think like 6 of those pounds were fat. I was highly inflamed, joints hurt, I was so worn out, my head hurt. And take a look at this DEXA scan. Like, I had gone from 0.5 pounds of visceral fat back up to 1, and you can see all the fat that I gained from 1 month of eating dairy every day. So I just cut it out, and if you have Hashimoto's hypothyroid, I would suggest that you do the same, because I feel so much better without it. Now, I have not tested the theory that raw milk does not have the same inflammatory effects as just regular conventional dairy. That is something that I'm contemplating doing an experiment on. You know, I do a ton of N-of-1 experiments here on the channel, but we'll see what happens. I don't have a lot of access to raw dairy here in the Chicagoland area, so I need to make sure I would have enough to, you know, test it for at least a month before doing an experiment like that. The next takeaway from the second year on carnivore is that sardine fasting is highly effective. I experimented a lot with sardine fasting in 2024. I did several 3 and 4 days, and then I did a 7, a 10, and a 14-day sardine fast. And I was very happy with it. You know, I'm not a big fan of sardines, but I found some that I really like, and I discovered that I was able to do these sardine fasts pretty easily. You do lose a lot of fat mass and maintain your lean muscle mass for the most part. It mimics the effects of a water fast, so if water fasting is intimidating to you, perhaps a sardine fast could be helpful. And I have a whole playlist on my channel where I talk about these different experiments and how to do one, so I'll be sure to link that right up here and in the description below. My next key takeaway from 2024 is the importance of community, carnivore community. In 2024, I really began to expand my carnivore community here in the Chicagoland area, and the catalyst for a lot of that was the wonderful Karen Miles. She puts together these amazing meetups. So I met a bunch of people in June of 2024 in the Chicagoland area, and then I went to another meetup in December with Karen and crew. So much fun to connect with people in my area. And then another group of people that was really helpful in, you know, making some more carnivore friends were the ladies over at Lioness Lifestyle Live. I'll be sure to put a link to their channel in the description below. They're amazing. So that's a big thanks to Christy, Ellie, and Adrian over there. And also connecting with my carnivore community online. I have the Jenny Mittich carnivore community over on Circle. We're over, I think, 700 people strong, and there's a lot of people on there that are really active. And we've all been chatting. I've been doing coaching calls with them, you know, building up that community there. So that's been awesome. Mention the coaching calls. I have been increasing my coaching in 2024, and I really enjoy that aspect of my job. I love being able to dive into the nitty-gritty with individuals and come up with the ways that they can overcome any of the obstacles that they are encountering. So I will also put a link to my coaching hours in the description below so you can get the help you need if you need it. I really believe in paying it forward. So in 2024, I endeavored to create a whole catalog of beginner carnivore videos that answered every single question that I get asked regularly, and also to answer questions that I had in the beginning of carnivore. I don't want people coming to this lifestyle and, you know, having a terrible time because they're not getting their questions answered. So been working on that. I think it's over like 40 videos now. And of course, writing the book is another way to share the healing power of carnivore with the world. I'm really passionate about helping people improve their metabolic health. And 2024 really just kind of solidified the fact that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, like as a career. I'm really happy that I've been able to channel all of my experiences on the carnivore diet into a full-time job that I'm really passionate about. My next takeaway in my second year on carnivore is that carnivore can be done long-term. I think there's a lot of naysayers out there that'll be like, oh, well, carnivore is just a short-term intervention. And I think for some people, sure, maybe many people that do carnivore will just be coming onto carnivore to use it as an elimination diet, and then that will get them on the right track. But for me, this lifestyle is just so simple. And I've seen such drastic improvements in my metabolic health, not just the weight loss, but other things as well, that it just makes sense to me to stay on it. I've seen no detrimental effects to my blood work, arterial scans, DEXA scans, and my continuous glucose monitor data. So for me, this experiment has shown thus far that there are no detrimental effects to my body on a carnivore diet. Quite the contrary, carnivore has improved my health and that of thousands and thousands of other people. Now, that being said, I personally don't think that the carnivore diet is like the only healthy way to eat. I think it's important that we don't get too dogmatic. You know, I'm creating content on social media platforms, so I'm dealing with comments all day, every day. And a lot of people that are commenting have very strong opinions on food or whatever dietary philosophy that they're following. The carnivore police are alive and well, and I am regularly getting throttled for like, oh, you can't eat that type of bacon, or oh, you can't use spices, or blah, 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 blah. And I think what's most important is instead of being like the carnivore police, you have to figure out what works best for you. What lifestyle, what dietary lifestyle can you maintain for the long term? And it's also very easy to get overwhelmed with all of the varying opinions that are out there, even in the carnivore space, including what you can and cannot eat, how much you should eat, how much fat you should eat, how much protein you should eat, and so many other things. So if you're a newcomer, just watch the videos from the content creators that you really have a connection with. But then you're going to need to experiment with the carnivore diet to figure out what works best for you. We talked about dairy in this video. I cannot include a lot of dairy in my version of the carnivore diet, but maybe you can. Maybe you're going to thrive eating a stick of butter a day, and maybe somebody else won't. The only way to know is to make an N of 1 experiment on yourself and figure out which version of carnivore works best for you. Your version of carnivore is most likely not going to look like mine, or Steak and Butter Gals, or Laura Spath's, or Dr. Ken Berry's, and that's totally okay. You just have to make it work for you. And that also could mean that maybe starting to incorporate some plant material back into your diet in the forms of fruit, vegetables, things like that. Maybe that's where this path is leading you. But you're going to figure that out with experimentation and with time. I personally think that carnivore, keto, ketovore, or low carb in general are the best dietary philosophies for most people. I think it's important to keep your diet as real whole food as possible. I do think that packaged foods have a place, mostly just for convenience and price factors, but you can find products that aren't full of garbage. And I also think it's a balancing act. You can't eliminate every pollutant and every toxin from your life, but you can decide what you want to prioritize and make moves there. All in all, 2024 was insane, and I'm really glad it's over. But as far as moving forward as a carnivore, I do plan on doing the carnivore diet for at least another year. We have a lot of big things coming up this year, including the release of my book, purchasing a new home, perhaps having another child. But through all of the craziness that 2025 is sure to bring, I know that staying carnivore is going to help me deal with all of the stress, while at the same time maintaining my physical and mental health. If you're thinking about trying out the carnivore diet in 2025, I'm going to put a link right here to my beginner carnivore playlist. This is almost 40 videos that should answer all the questions you have about the carnivore diet and also give you a solid plan for getting started. And if you would like to pre-order my book, Complete Carnivore, I will put those links in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to another year of delicious carnivore eating. Cheers.